lot of people deworm their dogs, but they forget to deworm themselves. It's so easy to catch them from your pets. I would say it's probably the number one way you can get parasites is from your pets.
Kim Rodgers is a seasoned wellness professional with over 20 years of experience in Western medicine.
Her journey in the medical field took an unexpected turn.
When her own health challenges led her on a transformative path.
Struggling with endometriosis, parasites, Lyme disease, and mold poisoning.
How do you know you have the parasites? Like, is there any test for it?
Oh, you can get tested. I eventually did get tested. I don't think that every single chronic illness is parasites, but I do think that it's smart for us in society to go through and do a 30-day or a 60-day cleanse and take some herbs to just kind of flush our system out, especially if you eat sushi or salmon, seafood. You know, they're very notorious for having parasites.
What do I have to do from then on to not get reinfected?
Okay, so what I did is...
Welcome to Chief Life, the podcast that cuts the crap with science-backed insights on health, nutrition, and performance. Get expert advice, actionable tips, and everything you need to take control of your health and live your best life. Let's get started.
Kim Rodgers, the Worm Queen. Welcome. I love that name.
Thanks.
So you call yourself the Worm Queen. What is the story behind it? Was there any defining moment when you realized parasites were a bigger problem? Like, what's your backstory? I would like to know.
Well, I was crowned the Worm Queen by my TikTok community when I first went viral in 2021. So I didn't want to be known as the Worm Lady. That's just not really fun. And so I wear the crown with pride because, you know, I mean, I talk about parasites and worms and environmental toxins. So if you have kind of a fun, catchy name, it kind of stops people in their tracks and think about what really could be going in and on and within our bodies, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So
Yeah.
they're definitely catchy name. I love it. But tell us a little bit more about your background. Like, why did you get into the parasite cleansing? Did you have any personal experience with parasites, or what happened? How did it evolve?
So in 2019, my husband and I decided to heal me. I think I sent you a picture where I had a before picture and I was very sick. I was what we say circling the drain. We were getting our affairs in order to go out onto our recreational property and build our own log home while trying to heal me. And, you know, if things did not go well, at least my husband would be taken care of and he would be out there building and could just find like a normal job. And so we quit our careers. I come from Western medicine. I have 2 healthcare degrees. I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I was a professor. I wrote academia medical books. I served on advisory boards for multiple different places like hospitals as well as academia. And so I really love the human body and I really love teaching people about the human body. So when it came time for me to kind of take a break from my professional life and figure out what was going on with me personally, it was kind of a no-brainer to go out there and be able to kind of dig deep because that's really what I had to do to figure out what was going on with my health. I had stage 4 endometriosis and I had a hysterectomy when I was 29 and I'm 46 years old. And so it really was like this fast-paced endometriosis was always my problem. This was always what the issue was. I had a hysterectomy and then I had 13 surgeries with that hysterectomy. So I had 5 before it, a hysterectomy, 5 after, and like no doctor could ever pinpoint what was wrong with me. No one really could help me. And so I kind of just started to take it into my own hands to figure out what was wrong with me. I started to do mushrooms functionally as well as active to kind of dig deeper into my body and my subconscious and kind of figure out what else could be going on. So in 2019, we left our real life and we went out to the outskirts of a rainforest and just decided to really kind of just live in the woods and figure out what was wrong. We went on that journey for about 1.5 years. And in 2021, around May of 21, I was doing a lot better than I was when we first got out there, but I wasn't really doing great. I was doing better where, okay, we weren't afraid I was dying anymore. But I wanted to know what else was going on with me. And I had this pain on my right side that when it came about, it usually was endometriosis. And so, of course, I felt this like heartbreak. Like, I know they can't do surgery on me anymore. I don't know if I can go through the ringer still. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot to be chronically ill. So I was scrolling on TikTok and I came across this gal who did a parasite cleanse. And she said, I can't believe I almost unalived myself over worms. And it kind of stopped me in my tracks. One, because I swear social media can read our minds. Like, it's just this wild thing that we're all in. And so I started to research and I started to look into, well, I remember a few years before I thought I had pinworms. I always had flares during the full moon and things just started to align. So I decided to do the cleanse. And within 3 days of doing this other company's cleanse, I saw roundworm, pinworms, and now I know I had Cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which kills puppies, which is a parasite. And I also saw worms. So now this huge epiphany happened. This light bulb went off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is wild. Like, is this a thing? Is anyone else have these problems? So I decided to do a video. And it's 60 seconds. And within 2 hours of the video, 1 million people had watched it. It was so hectic with likes and comments that it shut my TikTok down. Like, I could not get into TikTok. My phone could not keep up with the notifications. And literally our whole family was showing up that day to help us start the log home. And I just stopped for a moment and I thought, okay, this is something. There is something here that people know about. And I am feeling really grateful because I know medicine. I know medical. I know the body. And this is something I can talk about. So I let kind of this dust settle. And about 3 hours later, I have done a TikTok or video every day since.
Wow, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
how did you know you had parasites actually? Did you get tested or?
No, not in those moments. I did not get tested. I just saw them in the toilet.
Okay.
But I had thought that I had parasites a few years before. And I'm at that age where when I think of something, I go and research it, I screenshot it, and then it's on my phone. And then I try and remember to go back to that picture or, it's like my picture list that I have going on. And I remember looking at colonics, and it was about 5 years before I went in for my lady exam. And I had this white spot in an area. And I told her, I go, it's kind of itchy. Like, I get kind of an itchy feeling, especially during the full moon. And my doctor, which by the way, she cleanses now with ParaFy. I said, do you think I could have worms? And she looked at me and she goes, no, you haven't been out of the country. We live in the United States. You don't have worms, Kim. And I thought, okay, well, I mean, you want to do a biopsy on me, like before you go and cut on me, wouldn't it be a good idea to just kind of check that? And she goes, well, we're not going to cut on you today. Come back in 10 days. And I'm like, no problem. So I come back, it's gone, right? There's no spot. There's nothing to biopsy anymore. And so I just thought that was kind of weird. I always put that in the back of my mind as like a little knowledge nugget of like, how is that possible that like there's a spot, now there's not? I'm like, moving on, right? Because I've had some weird things happen. And so as soon as this all started and I started going viral, I was like, this is really a thing. And there are a lot of people, because I see them every day, I talk with them every day, that even they're the healthiest they could be, they still could have parasites. In fact, my best friend is the healthiest person I know, and she blows them out her nose because she has strongylosis. And it's just a matter of how they burrow down into your body. If you've disrupted them, how they're going to come out. And, eating sushi and walking barefoot and having pets, all of those things can contribute to you having a parasite.
Yeah, but how do you know you have the parasites? Like, is there any test for it
Oh,
that
you
you
can get
do?
tested. You can
Yeah,
get tested. I eventually
yeah.
did get tested. But other countries like Mexico and Guatemala, Jamaica, and like Korea, they just proactively cleanse. They just know that there's an issue out there and that they just need to go and cleanse. And then if they have symptoms like itchy butt, grinding of the teeth, IBS, mine was skin issues. I had flares during the full moon. I did have dogs. And, a lot of people deworm their dogs, but they forget to deworm themselves. And it's so easy to catch them from your pets. I would say it's probably the number one way you can get parasites is from your pets.
Yeah. So, okay, so this is interesting. So I know that we can get parasites from our environment, like unwashed veggies, water, all the things that you said. But usually when we get parasites, we get like a diarrhea or nausea or weight loss and things like that. So you definitely know you have parasite. The symptoms like skin problems and anxiety and depression, that can also be from other things like gut inflammation or leaky
Correct.
gut and things like that. So how do you know it's from parasites and not from leaky gut, for example?
I mean, it very well could be, but a root cause of leaky gut is parasites. That's one of the root causes of it, right? Is that your gut microbiome is disrupted and you have something like H. pylori or you have an amoeba. And unless you get tested right when they're active and right when they've made to be felt hospitable, you're going to get a negative test. So it's just a good practice in society to just do parasite cleansing seasonally. So 3 to 4 times a year, you go in, you take these herbs. It's 30 days with our ParaFy kit. It allows you to really just kind of remove some of these environmental toxins out of your body to give your body a fighting chance and also to find out what else could be going on. So for me, I had parasites, I had mold, and I have chronic Lyme. But I had to start somewhere to try and figure out what was wrong with me. And so a simple, easy thing was to do a cleanse. I immediately saw parasites. I saw worms come out of my stool. I thought that I had had them before, so it wasn't too shocking, right? I mean, it was shocking to see them, but it wasn't so shocking that I was like, okay, so what else is wrong with me, right? If I work in Western medicine and I was valedictorian of 2 healthcare degrees and I had no idea about any of this, what is it that someone in society that's never even read a medical book, what are they thinking? You know what I mean? And so I don't think that every single chronic illness is parasites, but I do think that it's smart for us in society to go through and do a 30-day or a 60-day cleanse and take some herbs to just kind of flush our system out, especially if you eat sushi or salmon, seafood. They're very notorious for having parasites because that's like we live in nature, right? And like this is normal. It's just not normal for Western medicine countries. We've been somewhat indoctrinated to think we're just too clean of people, but I'm a clean person and I got them from my water. So we tested our water. It came back positive. It was one of the many reasons why my husband and I had worms. It wasn't the only reason though. So it's just when you're starting to want to get into better health, it's just a really good practice to put into your body. I mean, Mexico deworms at least twice a year. In some places in Mexico, it's mandatory because they go, "Oh, our water's bad." But so is the United States. Like our water's terrible. I've tested it in multiple states and it's terrible. So it's like, why not just give yourself a fighting chance? We're so overloaded with environmental toxins on a daily basis. Our nervous system is thrashed because we're in a constant fight or flight. Let's go always. So it's like, why not just kind of add this into your daily life to just kind of see if this is something that makes you feel better?
Yeah, I agree about the polluted environment, but I spoke to gastroenterologist last week, and he's very holistic. Like, he's not the typical person who just gives you medication. He speaks a lot about nutrition, regenerative farming, and stuff. And I asked him about the parasites, and the three things that he said that I want to ask you about. So, number one, he said that a lot of the things that come out that people claim to be the ropeworms
Are the intestines.
just the intestinal
Sure.
lining. He said that when you have parasites and you get tested for it, every parasite needs a specific treatment. And then he also said that lots of the herbs are very strong because herbs can be more potent than medication, and they can actually damage your gut lining if they're not administered properly for the cause
Right.
that they're meant to be used for. So what is your, because this is what people are going to ask.
Totally.
It's out there,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I would like to know your opinion on this.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I really love having other people's opinions. You know, I mean, I come from the world of Western medicine, and I wrote books, and I really never thought this was even a thing as well. But if you're shedding your intestinal lining, you should really go see a doctor. And most of the pictures that I think I have like a 600-page identification book. They look and are parasites. So there's no way around that it's an intestinal lining. I mean, I definitely think that herbs are a really great way, and I do not think they're actually harsher than medications. If you look at the way there's a frequency with herbs and a frequency with medication, and when you take a synthetic medication, you're taking the frequency specifically for that ailment. And so that's what Big Pharma has been able to do, is figure out what the frequency is that you need to treat. And I say this, and I'll give you an example. When you have an opera singer sing, and her voice gets to the same frequency as the glass, it shatters the glass. If you take that same logic and you make it with herbs or with big P or synthesized medications, you're going in and you're finding what the frequency is of that ailment. And when you create something like the ParaFy kit, or you're going in and you're tackling heavy metals, you're using an herb to go in and like crush that ailment. And so I don't feel personally, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving medical advice, but I don't feel personally that herbs are harsher than synthetics. And with the ParaFy kit, we actually chose which were the most parasites and worms, because they're two different things. Parasites are microscopic and worms are physical. So you go in, and Giardia, Crypto, and D. fragilis are your top parasites. And so you're going in and you're matching their frequency to kind of shatter them in their body. And that's all that the synthetic medications have done as well. So you take something like Fenbend, and it's just treating like 3 to 5 different worms. You take something like ParaFy or an herbal, and it's actually generalizing more than just those frequencies. It's going in and it's tackling things like heavy metals, because parasites, physical worms, can hold on to 6 to 8 times their weight. And so one of that thing is heavy metals. Well, when you remove that, it's dropping the heavy metals. If you're taking a synthesized medication, it's just going in and tackling the worm. So what's going to happen when you've got heavy metals dumping into your body? Western medicine is having you take this synthetic medication, but they're not accounting for mold spores, bacteria, viruses, and heavy metals. They're not telling you to bind. They're not giving you an actual protocol when you're taking it, and it can make you sicker. And so that's kind of where the education comes in with the herbs meeting Western medicine, because there still should be a crossover. When you're doing a synthesized drug, you're not just taking it and it's just alleviating that problem. there's still a body left. I mean, RFK Jr. has a tapeworm in his brain. He has neurocystic It's a dead physical worm in his brain, and he talks about it. And so if he would have potentially done something where it's step by step, like binding, as well as doing something where it has heavy metals, he could have had a different outcome. But because this is so understudied and totally taboo and not even looked at, and people think it's the intestinal lining. I mean, I'm not kidding. I look at thousands of worms. I have over 20,000 worms on my phone because people send them to me, because there's nowhere to go, because you have people that just don't even want to take 5 minutes and learn a little bit more and expand their horizon in Western medicine, where, again, I didn't think this was a thing either, you know? So I really believe what he's saying is so valid, but I also believe that when someone comes into a doctor, like a GI doctor, and he immediately dismisses them, that's a problem. It's a problem that I'm sitting here, some random chick, right, that I do happen to have this, but I'm helping people understand that this is really a thing and that other countries recognize it, just not Western medicine countries.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so take us through, what does the cleanse look like? What is involved in it? It's 30 days, you said.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so
how you start it.
Yeah, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Tell us all about it.
So it's 3 tinctures. Tinctures are, in my opinion, I feel are a lot better because they're readily available. They don't have to go in and fight with food. You just take them and they absorb immediately. They get right into the bloodstream, because parasites are not just in our gut. And that's kind of going back to what he was saying, that it's intestinal lining, but it's in our blood, our tissue, and our muscle. And if you look at when you eat other animals, that's what you're eating, and that's where the parasites are. So we're not any different than that. We're the same, right? So you eat a fish like salmon. Salmon has up to 10,000 eggs in a square inch of their body. And the closer to the belly, the more parasites you have, but they can actually go out, right? So when you're taking a tincture like ParaFy, it's going right in, it's absorbing, and it's going straight into the blood. And a lot of them live in our blood and tissue and our muscles. So at least mine do, and everybody I've talked to does. So it's not just in our gut. But ParaFy is your parasite cleanse. It has wormwood, black walnut hull, and that helps with removing eggs, because when parasites feel fear, they start to drop their eggs, creating a new generation on their way out. So you have to get an herb that's going to go in and sweep out those eggs. Then you have clove, which helps break down generalized parasites like D. fragilis and crypto. And then you have garlic and hawthorn berry. And they say 3 out of 5 people have a tapeworm. And so hawthorn is really great to get rid of tapeworms. And so I wanted to include that in the ParaFy tincture itself, specifically because I see this every day. And when I was developing my product, I really wanted to help what was society was struggling with. And so I added in hawthorn for that. And then our second tincture is called Sustain. And Sustain is really good for small intestinal parasites, which is what I struggle with. And it has Usnea, Oregon grapefruit, which is my favorite anti-parasitic herb. And Usnea is another herb that is not really used a lot out in society. It helps with bacteria and viruses, and it's Mother Nature's doxycycline, so it's an antibiotic. And a lot of people like myself that have Lyme really thrive when we have something like Usnea in our bodies, because it helps calm down the Lyme. And Lyme is a parasite. And Lyme, like Babesia, which I also have, that is in our blood. So when I'm able to go in and kind of calm that down, it helps with the brain fog, it helps with fatigue, and overall, it just helps people regulate their daily activities to make them not so chronically ill and kind of be more productive members of society, right? And then our third tincture is called Metal Flush, and it is a heavy metal detox. It also helps break down biofilm, And the reason why you need to have an herb that breaks down biofilm is because they are coated with a hard shell around them, like an egg. And so you have to go in and bust that to expose them, making them vulnerable. And then those other herbs come in and help sweep them out. And so there's a process. It's a lengthy process. When you take that drop, the herbs are going in and they're doing all of the things that need to be done, and it's simultaneously happening. And then the last thing that you do when you do a parasite cleanse is a binder. And our binder is called Cinnabon, and it's cinnamon and it's coconut activated charcoal. So when you combine these 4 products together, you have a gentle, responsible parasite cleanse. We include instructions, we have nut-free options, and we're over the age of 3. No one under the age of 3 can take it, but it really is just a good practice for us to do this. And I've recorded myself every day since July of 2021, and I cleanse regularly, so you can actually watch my health progression as I'm getting healthier, and I contribute most of it to parasite cleansing. Yeah.
Yeah, so how often you do it? You say regularly. How often is regularly?
3 to 4 times a year is what we recommend.
Yeah.
Seasonally, and it should be you and your whole family, because you can transfer parasites from each other. Everyone in your house has the same microbiome. And so, things can be transferred via the air. So you really want to go in and do it as a team. And if you are deworming your animal, you should be deworming yourself at the same time. I think what's hard is the misconception that your pets can get it, but you can't. And that your pets lick you. Your pets lick themselves. They eat other animals' poo. And it's such an easy thing to catch because they're microscopic. You literally cannot see them, but they can get in you and they can hatch immediately. We're the best host. So why wouldn't they want to be in us,
Yeah, interesting. So you said you're getting healthier and healthier. Do you get any tests to see how healthy you're getting, or how do you measure your health outcomes?
Yeah. So I've done parasite stool testing. I started doing my stool testing in 2021. When I first started on this journey, I wanted to know what was going on with me. So I reached out to an independent lab that tests my stool. But I also sent my stool to LabCorp, which is a Western medicine lab, the same stool. So I sent one round of the same stool to both of them, and Western medicine's lab came back negative. But there was an asterisk at the bottom that said this is not in lieu of a parasitic infection. The next day, my independent lab stool came back and I had crypto and roundworm. So it just really does show that it matters, right? So LabCorp, which I actually used to train the lab technicians at LabCorp when I was a professor, they get 3 to 5 minutes to look at your stool. If they don't see an egg, so they're only looking for specific things, larvae and egg. If they don't see it, it's negative. And then they move on. Your stool can sit out for up to 14 days, and it's not refrigerated. And that all of those things make a difference when you're getting tested. So when I sent my stool to the independent lab that I paid for, it went to Mexico. And Mexico knows how to test, because this is what they do. They have parasitologists that actually look at your stool under a microscope. They look at all of the stool, not just a little scoop of the stool. They have you take 4 days that you test. I did that at LabCorp as well, because that's how I do stool testing, and that's how I did it when I had patients. So I would have them do a little scoop one day in one vial, and then a scoop in the second vial, then go back to the first vial, and then go back to the second. Send that in so you have a 4-day vision, because they're elusive. They can hide. That's they've been around longer than us. They'll be around longer than us. And when they disrupt you, that's when it's the most important to catch them, because that's where a lot of chronic illness comes. So when you're sending them to the lab, you have to refrigerate. They need to test it right away. You got to have an eye that's going to look and actually look at all of the stool, not just a sample of the stool. And you can also do it during the full moon, which is when they're the most active. You should get blood work to coincide and get your eosinophils, which is an EOS, with your CBC. There are ways that you can actually see that you have a parasitic infection or any environmental toxin infection. We just don't have that great testing. So I think that because of that, it makes it a lot more taboo than if you were to just be like, I'm going to cleanse 3 to 4 times a year and see how I feel, you know?
That's fascinating. So I'm really interested in testing everything. I just love testing everything.
Totally.
Could you please send me a link after this to
Sure.
the test that's good? I don't know if I can do it because I'm in Australia and that's in Mexico. But send the link
He's
anyway.
in the States. It's parasites.org.
Okay.
So just parasites.org.
Okay.
It's also in my link tree. And the owner's name is Evan, and he's really great. So you can actually reach out to him because he does affiliates. He can give you education. Like, he's super good. This is what he does all day too. And then he's in the States, and then he's got one lab that's in Arizona and one lab that's in Mexico. So they run both of those labs. But it's not unusual. It's just unusual for you because you're in Australia, and it's unusual for me because I'm in the United States, and then there's Canada. So those are the 3 places that Western medicine has indoctrinated us as a country to make us think that this is just not a thing. That's where we send most of our kits. So I do know, because we sold over 150,000 kits worldwide, that this is where the issue lies. They're really us 3 countries.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I'm so intrigued. But next question I have. So the 30-day cleanse, it's the tinctures, but then you also have a diet that people need to be on. And so I had a look at the diet, and it's mainly plant-based.
Yes.
And my question is, like, so if you have the parasite, you said that can cause leaky gut and, damaged gut lining, whatever. But the main supplement to heal your leaky gut is glutamine,
Right.
which comes from mainly animal proteins. That's the most abundant. And the plants, even the chickpeas and all those things, they're full of oxalates, phytates, lectins that can potentially be inflammatory and damage your gut lining. So what is the rationale behind this diet?
Okay, so what I had done, and I'm going to tell you what we're doing, because this is like a 2-part for sure. So what I did is 4 years ago, when I started on this journey and I got on social media, and we have over 1 million followers, and I have a little more time now, just so you know. Over the last 4 years, I've done a lot of research. The diet that we have, it's not RogersHood's diet. It's just the Candida diet. It's the strictest diet. It's a guide for people to understand how during those 30 days, they can go in and they can starve out any parasite or Candida. So that's what I chose. I chose that. I had community members send me their recipes. They can choose what they want. But over the last 4 years of my own healing journey, I realized how important actual meat is when you're doing a cleanse. And so probably this last year, I'm so busy because I'm also still on my healing journey. I had autoimmune encephalitis, so my brain was swelling. And so I kind of had to take a little bit of a step back in producing a lot of educational things and just really focus on my own healing. While I did that and I saw all these doctors, I asked them, and I would say, okay, I understand the Candida diet says that you shouldn't eat meat, but I eat meat. I eat clean, as organic, grass-fed, grass-finished. Why is this such a thing when you're doing these cleanses? And they said, there's a lot of studies now, exactly what you just said, that you should be doing this. And so, funny enough, over the last 3 weeks, I've been requesting our community to send me clean, parasite cleansing approved meat recipes so that at Christmas I can launch a second cookbook from the community assisting people on what they should and shouldn't be eating. And I tell people, it's just a guide. You got to do what your body tells you to do. And just because you eat something that's questionable doesn't mean the herbs aren't going to go in and work. I just needed to provide a guide to people because people get so lost in the food. They get so lost in it. And I do too, because I don't cook and like I just do what I can when I'm eating. And so that kind of answers that question, because it's just, I really just wanted to provide the community with something that would help them and make them feel better. But if it's too much, then definitely listen to your body. And I am working on getting a new cookbook out.
Yeah, so I guess if you eat like healthy food that's not full of pesticide
Yeah.
and herbicides and not ultra processed, that should be fine.
Right.
Okay, so when people do, like, let's say they eat healthy diet, they take your tinctures, do they feel any different? Like, can it make you feel sick or nauseous, or do they feel amazing straight away? Like, what can we expect?
Well, I felt amazing straight away for the first couple of weeks, and then I started to decline as I was killing them off, and that's what's called die-offs. And because they hold eggs and spores and bacteria, and they're peeing and pooping in our head, on our bodies, it can make you feel yucky. And so that's called Herxheimer's reaction, or we call them die-offs. So something's dying in your body and you're going to feel it, and your body's doing what it needs to do, which is making you feel like you have the flu and you have a headache and you have nausea and you have diarrhea, you have constipation. All of those things are normal when you're killing something off in your body, whether it's just parasites or it's mold or it's Lyme. So all of the environmental toxins create a die-off. And so me in particular, really tried to find ways to alleviate that so that you continue your cleanse. And that's why I put so many herbs inside of the ParaFy kit. Each one of them has a purpose and they support your body. So I put in like dandelion root, which is a liver support, and your liver is being taxed while you're detoxing. So the more you can support it, the more effort it's going to be putting towards the negative of trying to clean it out while supporting it in a positive way. And so when I created it, I kept in mind die-offs. Like, I had tons of die-offs. I had so many die-offs. It's really what made me create my own kit with my own system. I didn't know what a binder was. In Western medicine, you only use charcoal if somebody tried to kill themselves or they had alcohol poisoning and they ended up in the ER, right? You shoved a ton of charcoal down their throat in order to bind the toxins and have it removed before it absorbed into the body. It's the same concept when you're doing a micro amount of the charcoal. It's binding. Charcoal is a negative binder, and it collects and magnetizes with a positive. So it's literally like creating a magnet. And so when you're doing that, it's pulling the yucky to help it push out of your body so that you don't have so many die-offs.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I have so many friends. I don't know if you're aware of this, but a lot of Australians go and live in Bali, and they all come back with parasites. And not just the Bali belly, but I actually go to a holistic doctor here, and she tests for the parasites. And a lot of my friends came back with a positive test. So maybe I need to go to her to test my parasites again, because I know it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's just like the treatment is very questionable, like that's why
Yeah.
I'm so interested in all this.
Well, we use all of the same herbs. That's the thing, is that if you go to her and say you go to her and you bring her that kit, she's going to look at it and go, oh, this is great. Because of the way that we soak our own herbs. We have a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility here in the United States. We have 30 team members, so we manufacture our own products. I will not allow a lab to touch my products. This is me, solely me and my team. I have a business partner that lives in Arkansas where we manufacture our products. We built our own manufacturing facility. We are third-party tested. We have GMP certification. When I went viral and I started my own business, I take this seriously. I need to know what's going in my own body and what's going to go in yours. And so if you bring her the kit and you're like, hey, I'm going to do this, she's actually probably going to go, oh, this is great, because usnea, it's not really used a lot, and it should be. And usnea is really good for when you're going through die-offs. And it also helps curb your appetite, and they will actually make you want to eat things you would never even eat. And I want to talk about toxo because it'll kind of put all of this into perspective when I tell you about how parasites are mind controlling and mold is brainwashing. So let's go back to Bali real quick. So Bali belly is real, as well as pinworms from Bali. My doctor, who I love her, she went and brushed her teeth one time with a toothbrush that she accidentally did it once, and she got pinworms because of their water. Their water is not great, and their water is cleaning the produce, just like our water. You're brushing your teeth, you're showering, you're getting in it. Like all of those ways, people don't realize that 70% of our body's organ is right here, right? This is the largest organ of your body. It can absorb everything. And when you get in water, what do you think it's absorbing? Heavy metals, bacteria, so
Okay, I have a question. So,
yeah.
are some people more resistant to the worms? Because I have been to Bali more than 10 times and I've never had Bali belly.
Yeah, you can be. You can be more resistant depending on how your metabolism is, what your body's structure is like. But also, if they're hiding in you and say you have a very stressful week, 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden after that stress, you start to get chronically ill. Why? Well, because they can burrow. They can burrow deep in your body and they may just stay dormant unless something happens. And for me personally, I had a very stressful event happen to me in 2016, and I was also living in mold. And so the combination of those two just took me from I was already chronically ill to like now I'm on my deathbed trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And so that can happen overnight. And you could also pass them through. Your body could be so inhospitable to them that they're not going to hang out. But I would say that 90 to 95% of us, that is not the case. And they live in us until an event happens. And then that triggers a more chronic illness, or your environmental toxin bucket is overloaded. I was watching Alex Clark on her podcast, and she said, I was pretty healthy. And then I went in and I was getting Botox at the time. And she goes, now I know all these bad things about Botox. And she said, but all of a sudden I started losing my hair after my Botox injection of my lip. And I wasn't sure what was going on, but that one injection made her nervous system and made her body realize that her bucket was overflowing. And it put her into a autoimmune cycle. And autoimmune is your body basically fighting itself because it doesn't know what's wrong with it. You start to eliminate some of these things like parasites and mold, and you can get a better idea of why is your body fighting itself. It's here to heal. It wants to heal. You get a cut on your arm, it starts to heal. That's what it wants to do. But when it can't, that's when it starts to fight against itself. That's why some people have it and some people don't. That's we're all a little different,
Yeah, that's super interesting. So let's say I do the parasite cleanse, get rid of all my parasites. What do I have to do from then on to not get reinfected?
Well, I mean, it's impossible to not get reinfected.
Minimize it. I mean,
3
don't
to
go
4
to
times
Bali,
a year.
but in between, what are the worst things to get parasites? Like the worst foods, worst practices where you definitely get parasites?
Well, I take my tincture, Sustain. It has Oregon grapefruit and peppermint and usnea, and I take that pretty much daily because it helps kind of keep whatever's going on. I also take my kit prophylactically, so if I know I'm going to go eat questionably, like I still eat some crab. I don't eat salmon anymore. And if I do eat anything, it's going to be cooked. So avoiding raw produce, avoiding raw meat, making sure that what you're eating is cooked and prepared correctly. If you are going to go ground, make sure where you're going walking barefoot outside has been in a clean area. You don't know if cats and dogs and raccoons and other animals have defecated there because they're microscopic. You step down, you have 125,000 pores in the bottom of each of your feet. Whoosh, They suck right up there, and then they're like, hey, this is great. Making sure that you filter your water, especially when you're traveling. I travel with a water filter, and I only use bottled water. I know about the microplastics, but sometimes you got to pick the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of my life I'm watching out, and 20% of my life I'm being human. So you got to remember that when all this is
I'm the
going
same.
on. You
I
know?
rather drink water from plastic bottle than from a tap.
Totally.
Like I
Oh
try
my
to
God.
avoid plastic bottle, but if I had to choose tap water or filtered water from a plastic, I rather choose the filtered
Same.
water from a plastic. Yeah.
Like I do my best. Like everywhere I go, I try and find glass, but I am not going to brush my teeth. And that's what happened. So we weren't drinking our contaminated water. We were brushing our teeth with it. I was rinsing my produce, thinking I'm doing the right thing. I'm cleaning my produce. I'm doing all the right things. I showered. I actually had a worm in my eye because I washed my hands and I wear contacts. And I washed my hands, put the contact on it with water, and I stuck it in my eye, and I had a worm in my eye for 2 years that would float down and back. And I always said, like, to the eye doctor, I go, this is weird. Like, it looks like a worm. And, oh, no, that would never happen. And I'm like, okay, you know?
Yeah, the tap water is terrible. I've been telling these people for over a decade, like I never drink tap water. I filter at home on a shower, in my tap, everywhere. And everyone always thought I was crazy. But now the Australian government is telling us how bad the tap water is and how there's forever chemicals and all these pollutants. Like at least finally now they talk about it in the mainstream media to make people aware that maybe they're sick just from drinking tap water.
Yep. Not here. So I live in Seattle, and I've tested the water in two different places in Washington. One is Hoodsport, that's where we used to live, and Seattle. And Seattle tested positive for nematodes. Nematodes are physical worms. They don't test for physical worms in our country. I have been down the wormhole when it comes to the water because it's a fear, right? Like it's a scary thing. We need water to live. So I get this every day. Like, well, what do we do? Where do we go? And it's like, you just have to filter your water with like a 5-micron filter because nematodes are 40 micron. So it's really being proactive versus reactive. And I think in the society we're in right now, we're so reactive because we haven't had the knowledge to allow ourselves to be proactive. You know, what you know about water, no one knows, right? So everyone's reacting now because they're like, what do you mean the water's bad? Where do you think the water comes from? There's a water table that absorbs everything, and it's from the dirt of the earth, which is where parasites live. And it's like, of course, things can get into your water table. But when I worked in the ER and someone would come in, you would ask them, how long have you had this stomach ache? And if they said more than 10 days, you immediately ask them, do you have a well? Because if you have a well, you probably have a parasite. If you have a parasite, you got it from your water from the well. Immediately. It was the first question we would ask. So you don't think city water is just as bad?
Oh my
You know,
God,
if not
the
worse?
pipes I always think about the
Oh my
pipes
gosh.
in the city water. They must be so much full of gunk and stuff.
Oh, Veronica, go and look at my account and type in Worm Queen Seattle water. And in 5 showers, I also did this in New York because I bring a filter everywhere I go, and it has a clear filter house. So you can see the filter. 2 showers in New York, it was black. 5 showers here in Seattle, it's like a dark brown. I swear all they did was stick our city water hose in like the Hudson behind us. I don't even know, man. It's so disgusting. I couldn't even believe it. And I live in a brand new building downtown. No one's ever lived in this building before, and it's just as bad. So you know it's the pipes from Seattle that's coming up. I learned a whole bunch of stuff about Seattle and the water because I'm like, this is a thing. And they think the water here is gold. Like you go into a restaurant and you're like, yeah, I don't really want is this tap? And they're like, yeah. And I'm good. Can I have a glass, no ice, and sparkling water? And they're like, it's tap sparkling. Do you have anything with a bottle? And they look at you and you're like, no ice. They'll bring ice. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's tap ice.
I know, I'm the same. I'm just like, no, don't want to drink tap water. I just find
No.
it disgusting. Like, it's a common sense. The pipes go underground everywhere. No one cleans them.
Yeah.
If they do want to clean them, they just drop a bunch of chemicals in there that are bad for you anyway.
And if you think about this, crypto, which is huge in water, actually thrives in chlorine. And that's what they dump. So I had crypto. So I learned a lot about crypto because I'm like, well, how is this possible? My husband's like, there's no way it's in our water. I get our water tested and he's like, okay, I was very wrong. It took him 3 days to verbalize anything after we found out it was in our water. He just laid in shock. He was like, but there's no bacteria in our water. And I go, yeah, parasites can live with or without bacteria, Jeremy. And then when Washington State came out and tested our water, first off, they're like, there's nothing in it. And I'm like, but I have a test here that shows there is. And then I have another test here that shows there is. I got it tested so many times. And so they just are in such denial. Denial.
Crazy times. Anyway, I have one last question.
Okay.
What is your best client story, like the most like prominent results from before and after, or like most shocking findings, like something that's really mind-blowing?
Probably a ropeworm that they had back pain for years. And then they went in, they did the kit, and it kind of removed that pain. A lot of weight loss has been kind of a big thing because when you're holding on to the fat for your body in survival mode, that seems to be big. Okay, I have one really, really good one. His name is Tyler, and he's our bottle guy. Him and I talked, and him and his wife tried to have children, and they had been working with in vitro, and they'd been trying for 2 years, and he decided they were just gonna give up and just see what they could do later. And I said, why don't you just try a kit? Like, you just never know. It's not necessarily just parasites. It could just be that you're trying to reset your body. Well, they have a 2-year-old now. I sent them a kit and they did it, and she got pregnant 6 weeks after, and that's happened a few times with us. And so it's just kind of a fun thing to think that like you're kind of resetting your body, you're getting some inflammation down, and you're removing some environmental toxins that could be causing you some issues.
Wow, that's super interesting. Yeah, and I'm kind of want to do the cleanse myself now.
Wait, did we send you one, Veronica?
No, I haven't got it.
Wait.
No.
Oh, okay.
I never,
I'm getting
never
it.
got
Okay. Didn't I send you an email? Hold on. I'm getting
You
my
did,
phone.
but I've never, that's okay. We can sort it out later. But no, I never got it. I would like to try. And I'm also going to go to my doctor and test for the parasites before and after to see the results. I have last 2 questions that are not specific to you, but I ask every of my podcast guests. If there's only one advice that's health and fitness or wellness advice that could you give to our audience, but only one, what would that be? And what is your favorite book? And that doesn't have to be health book, just your favorite book.
Okay. One piece of advice. Well, be your own patient advocate. Was that answering your first one?
just find out for yourself.
Yeah.
Explore. Yeah.
And then
Those
a book that I'm reading. Oh my gosh. I'm reading about red light. Like, I love red light. I've been doing red light for years. And so I'm reading the Red Light book by Mark Sloan.
Okay, I'll have a look. Well, thank you so much for making the time for us. That was super interesting, and I'm pretty sure all our listeners will love it because there's not a lot of information on this topic out there. So thank you. Let me know which of our products are your favorites. I'll send you some after this. And I can't wait to try your kit and then report to what happened.
I'm so excited for you. Me too.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Let us know in the comments below what topics interest you, and don't forget to follow us.